The first thing my father said when he saw the movers was that I was being dramatic. He stood in the doorway with his arms crossed, watching two men carry boxes from my old room down the narrow hallway. His voice carried through the house the way it always had, loud enough to fill every corner, loud enough that no one else needed to argue. "You're taking this way too far," he said. I didn't answer right away. The house smelled faintly of dust and lemon cleaner, the same way it always had. My mother used to clean on Saturdays when I was younger. After she left, the smell stayed but the routine didn't. One of the movers asked quietly which boxes were going first. I pointed toward the stack near the door. The argument started when they reached the living room. A couch, the coffee table, the small bookshelf against the wall. My father stepped forward. "Hold on," he said sharply. The movers stopped. "That stays." One of them looked at me. "It's mine," I said. My father laughed under his breath. "It's a family house," he said. "Don't be petty." The words were familiar. They had been used for years. Every time I paid for something in the house. Every time something broke and I replaced it. Family house. Not your couch, not your refrigerator, not your money. Family. The movers waited. They'd clearly been in situations like this before. My father gestured around the room like a judge delivering a verdict. "You can take your clothes and whatever's in your room," he said. "But the furniture stays. Appliances stay. Don't act like a child." I felt something strange then, not anger, not even frustration. Just a slow clarity. I walked to the kitchen counter and picked up the envelope I'd brought. Inside was a stack of receipts. Years of them. The refrigerator, the dining table, the couch, the washing machine repair, the roof patch 3 winters ago. I hadn't collected them intentionally, I just never threw them away, I held them out. My father glanced at the papers and scoffed. "You think that matters?" I didn't raise my voice. "I paid for them." "That's what families do," he said quickly. "We help each other. That doesn't make it yours." The movers were still standing there, quiet, watching the two of us like they were waiting for a referee. For a moment, I almost let it go. Not because he was right, just because arguing with him had always been exhausting. But the process had already started weeks ago. Paperwork filed, bank statements submitted, a lawyer who spoke calmly about things like shared liability and unsecured personal loans. I looked down at the receipts again. "I'm not being petty," I said quietly. My father waved a hand dismissively. "Then stop acting like it." One of the movers cleared his throat. "Sir," he said to me, "do you want us to keep loading?" I nodded. They lifted the couch. My father stepped forward again. "You're not taking the fridge," he snapped. That was when I said it. Not loudly. "I'm not just moving out." He frowned, confused more than angry. "What's that supposed to mean?" I set the receipts on the kitchen counter. "It means the loan payments you stopped making last year," I said, "the ones I covered so the bank wouldn't come after the house." His expression shifted slightly. I continued, still calm. "They weren't gifts." Silence settled in the room. Even the movers paused again. "I filed the paperwork 2 weeks ago," I said. My father stared at me. "For what?" The words felt strangely small when they came out. "Foreclosure." The house didn't react. Houses never do. But something inside the room changed. My father's posture stiffened, like he was waiting for someone to laugh. "That's not how this works," he said. "It is when you're the creditor." The movers resumed working. The couch moved through the doorway slowly. My father looked at the refrigerator as one of them started unplugging it. "You're insane," he said. Maybe he believed that. For years, any resistance from me had been framed that way. Ungrateful, dramatic, petty. I leaned against the counter and watched the kitchen slowly empty. The refrigerator was heavier than it looked. The movers tilted it carefully onto a dolly. My father stood in the hallway, staring at the paperwork. "You're doing this to your own family," he said. I thought about that sentence for a long moment. Family. It had always meant something different to him. To him it meant authority. To me it had meant obligation. The movers rolled the fridge past him. The wheels rattled across the old floorboards. He didn't move. For the first time in years, he didn't seem angry. Just uncertain, like the rules he'd been using no longer applied. Outside, the truck door slammed shut. The house felt strangely hollow without the low hum of the refrigerator. I picked up the envelope of receipts and slipped it back into my bag. My father was still standing in the hallway. "You think this makes you powerful?" he asked. I shook my head. No. And that was the truth. Power wasn't what it felt like. Mostly it felt like distance. I walked toward the door. The movers were already starting the engine. When I stepped outside, the afternoon air felt cold and quiet. Behind me, the house sat exactly where it always had. But for the first time in my life, it didn't feel like something I belonged to. And it didn't feel like something that belonged to him either.